Hi everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
And today we are talking about phones. We often talk about phones. Different things about phones.
So are we going to buy a new phone?
I don't know. I mean, don't you think that sometimes phones and technology can be a real pain? Because you have to keep replacing it.
Yeah, and you have to keep using it.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, how often do you replace your phone?
Maybe every 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think for me it's 3 or 4 years, and I try not to. I don't replace my phone until it's dead. So it's crazy that it only lasts that long. Like, I've had computers that lasted about a decade, like 10 years.
Yeah, computers can last longer than phones.
I hate it that, phones, they break so fast, and I think the companies design them that way because they want to sell you a new phone.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not great. So I wish there were a better way.
And normally it's the battery's problem.
Exactly. So we're actually talking today about a phone that could fix this problem, kind of. Yeah. So
what kind of phone is this?
It's a Fairphone.
A Fairphone?
That's literally its brand name. So
that's a brand name.
Yeah, it's a fairer phone. Apparently, it's supposed to help solve the problem with having to replace your phone all the time.
Is this brand from Europe?
It is, yes. So we're going to get into it more. I don't want to talk about it too much before we go into the article. So let's talk more about it when we get into the teaching.
Reading.
Fairphone is helping to make the world a fairer place. How often do you replace your cell phone? Some replace theirs often to have the latest technology. Others, however, wait until their existing phone has reached the end of its life before replacing it. In many cases, the battery is the first part to stop functioning. In the past, cell phones came with batteries that could be removed. However, most modern smartphones have their batteries sealed, so users can't replace them. Many people replace their entire cell phone when only small parts are broken. To try to change this trend, environmentally conscious Dutch smartphone company Fairphone does things a little differently. When a customer buys a Fairphone, they will find a small tool included. This is because each phone can be completely taken apart by the user, which allows them to replace parts. The phones use recycled plastics and make use of ethically mined minerals and metals where possible. Ethical mines have good safety standards and pay their workers a fair wage. Even though Fairphone doesn't yet market in this continent, you might still be able to choose a fairer phone for your next phone in the future.
All right, the article starts out by talking about the question we just asked. How often do you replace your cell phone? Replace means to put someone or something new in the place of something else. So when you have to replace something that you own, it means that maybe that first thing is not so good anymore. It doesn't work well. If it's your phone, it might not even power on. It might just, be a black screen forever. And you can replace other things like clothes when your old clothes get worn out, or shoes when they get worn out, when you've walked too much in them. So yeah, I think we're constantly replacing things in our lives, which is a little bit sad. So for an example, you could say, my computer is not working well these days. I might have to replace it soon.
Replace 它就是 re 加上后面 place 这个字组合起来的哦，那代表的就是更换、替换。它也可以当作取代的意思，好像是我们可以说 The bike is old and needs replacing， 代表脚踏车旧了，需要替换。所以课文一开头呢，问我们说你多久换一次手机？ So, we discussed about this.
Yeah, so we were asking how often you replace your cell phone. You said every 2 years. Mine is only when it's really broken. My current phone I've had since 2019.
2019, which
I remember,
is
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
3 and some, yeah. Because I remember that my old phone, I dropped it before I went on my trip to Europe in October 2019, and the screen absolutely shattered, and I couldn't use it.
So there was no way you can fix it.
There was no way. I mean, if I'd gone to the phone store, maybe it would have cost me the same as a whole new phone.
Right.
Yeah.
So how much are you willing to spend on your phone?
Like to replace it or to fix it?
To replace it, to buy a new one.
I mean, say with a phone plan, I will spend $8,000.
8,000.
Yeah.
With the phone plan.
Yeah. Which is not much, but usually phone companies will, sign a new contract with you, and you can get a reduced price on the phone.
Right.
So a lot of people will spend $15,000, maybe $20,000. Phones can be really expensive, but I think they don't have to be that much. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, so the article says some replace theirs often to have the latest technology. Yeah, it's true. There are some people who want to replace their phone like every year.
有些人呢，可能是很常换手机，为的就是要有最新的科技，最新的 iPhone。
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants the new iPhone. I think it's 14 now,
Now it's
right?
14.
14. Others, however, wait until their existing phone has reached the end of its life before replacing it. That's me.
OK， 所以我们刚刚说到 some replace theirs often， 有些人是这样做，那另外一些人呢，我们就用 others 来带出，其他人会等到现在的手机不能再用的时候才会替换掉。
In many cases, the battery is the first part to stop functioning. So the battery is maybe the most important device in your phone because without it, your phone will not work. It's a device that is inside a machine, like you could also have one inside of a clock, a toy, a car, or even some things like, your cell phone. Your laptop computer will probably have a battery, and it supplies it with electricity. So electricity is power that you need to make your technology work. And you can either plug it into a wall if it has no battery, but if you have a battery, you don't need to plug it in, only to charge the battery and give the battery more electricity. Now, if the battery goes out, then the phone will not function, or the battery might stop functioning. To function means to operate or to work. That means, when something is functioning, it's working. It's doing its job. So machines function. You could say that different kinds of body parts function in a certain way, or other things that need to do a task or a job can have a function or can function. So, for example, you could say the coffee machine won't function if you don't plug it into the wall. So if you don't give the coffee machine electricity, it won't function.
OK， 那回到我们刚刚讲到的 battery 就是同学们熟悉的电池。那再来呢，我们看到 function 这个字，在课文当中呢，它是当动词来用的哦，代表就是正常的运作。那它还可以当名词，代表是功能，像是我们可以说呢 ，A smartphone has many functions， 那就代表一只智慧型手机它可以有很多的功能。那回到课文说到的是电池问题，可能会是第一个影响到手机的。
All right, so yeah, you want to make sure the battery might stop functioning, and what do you have to do? In the past, cell phones came with batteries that could be removed. Yeah, I remember that actually.
OK， 过去的手机电池是可以更换的。So now you can't do that?
Apparently not.
Oh.
It says, however, most modern smartphones have their batteries sealed, so users can't replace them. Why? Why did they do that?
So that phone companies can make more money.
Yeah, we already said so. They want you to replace your phone so you can get more money. But if they sell just the battery, they can make money from the battery. Why not do that? Anyway, so they seal the batteries. To seal something means to, prevent someone from going into something, basically to prevent you from getting into your phone and getting to the battery. Or it can mean to close something tightly so that air and things like water can't get in or out. Probably the batteries are sealed from damage, like, making sure that water doesn't hurt them, that air doesn't make them, go bad. But also they are sealed off, which means to, kind of cut it out and make sure that we can't get to them. because maybe they don't want us to replace the battery. So for an example sentence, we could say, we should seal up the hole in the roof, or water will come in next time it rains.
Seal 代表的是封或是密封的动作。那在课文当中呢，你看到 have their batteries sealed， 这个是个被动哦，做第三态加 ed， 它是个规则变化的动词。所以课文说到的是现在的手机电池很多都是密封起来的，所以呢，坏了也不能换。So you can't remove the battery when it's not functioning well.
Yeah, so even, I guess probably they seal the batteries so that if you get water on your phone, it won't damage the battery. But at the same time, it makes it impossible for us to replace them. Many people replace their entire cell phone when only small parts are broken.
所以很多人呢，在一些小零件坏掉之后，就直接更换手机。
To try to change this trend, environmentally conscious Dutch smartphone company Fairphone does things a little differently.
我们先看到这个 environmentally conscious， 这什么意思呢？当你看到字尾有 conscious 接出来的时候它常是在名词或是副词之后，可以构成一个形容词哦，表示有点点点意识的，或是注重点点点的。所以environmentally 这个副词是与环境相关的，或者是影响环境的。那 environmentally conscious 那就是有环境意识的。所以有一家荷兰的手机公司呢，他想要改变这样子经常更换手机的趋势。那这间公司是 environmentally conscious company。That's
right. So I think, there's a lot of European companies that are trying to do environmentally conscious things like this. So what is environmentally conscious? What's better about Fairphone? When a customer buys a Fairphone, they will find a small tool included. Oh, interesting.
So there will be a small tool for the user to use in the future.
That's right.
这个小工具就是 Fairphone 提供的。
This is because each phone can be completely taken apart by the user, which allows them to replace parts. Oh, so it's actually what you'd call a modular phone, which means that you can swap out different parts, you can probably change its function, you can do all kinds of things.
And you can do it by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, you just have to have the right parts and probably some instructions, and you can do it yourself. You can take it apart and then you can put it back together. To take something apart means to remove or separate the parts of something. You know how in other cell phones you can't remove the battery? In this one, you can, and other parts. So you can totally take the phone apart, put all the parts spread out on a table, and then put it back together.
Take something apart 代表是将某物拆解，所以我们也可以这样说。For example, the man is trying to take the engine apart to see what is going on with his car. 也就是他试着将引擎拆解开来，看看车子有什么样的问题。那这里呢 Fairphone 的使用者可以将它拆解开来更换零件。So you don't have to replace the entire phone, but it's not functioning well.
That's right. And I think with environmentally conscious people, these kinds of phones are becoming more popular. Fairphone's not the only one that does it, but we can talk a little bit more about that later. The phones use recycled plastics and make use of ethically mined minerals and metals where possible. So when you say that the plastics in these phones are recycled, that means they're made new from something that's been used before. So plastics that were used in other products, maybe they got thrown away into a recycle plant, or maybe other phones even, and these are being used again. So it makes less trash on the earth. So what are plastics, or what is plastic? Plastic is usually singular, but here we use it as a plural. That's okay too. It's a light, strong substance that can be made into different shapes, and it's used for making many common products. So if you have a phone, probably it has a lot of plastic parts. Your pencil might have some plastic for the outside of it, or the cup you're using might be plastic. Anything that's strong, but also can kind of be moved a little bit, and it's made out of like an oil-based material, that is plastic. So there's a lot of plastic in the world. It's actually quite bad how much plastic there is in the world, but if we can recycle it, it helps to lessen the impact. So an example sentence for plastic. The store's shelves were lined with different drinks in bottles made out of plastic. Now, what are we doing with it? We're making use of something, to make use of ethically mined minerals and metals. To make use of something means to use it. It's just a different way of saying to use something. And what are we making use of? Ethically mined things. So ethical means behaving in a way that's right and it's good, doesn't hurt people or the environment. And they're using mined minerals. To mine something is to pull it out of the ground, usually if it's like a rock. And the thing in this case is minerals. They're things that are naturally formed under the ground. You can think of salt, you can think of coal, you can think of oil, or quartz, which is like a pretty white rock. Any kind of those that are found underground and they're taken out of the ground, those are minerals. So, yeah, we're using them wherever possible. If you can do it, you will do it.
OK， 帮同学们整理一下 plastic， 它这边当名词用，代表就是塑胶。再来呢，前面有一个形容词是 recycled， 它用来形容后面塑胶这个字。那是怎么样的塑胶呢？被回收的塑胶。那再来 make use of 代表是使用或是利用。还有就是 ethically mined minerals。 ethically 好，刚刚 Kat 都有解释了，这是个副词，代表合乎道德的。那后面 minerals 解释为矿物。那接下来呢，当我们看到 when possible 或是 whenever possible， where possible 或者是 wherever possible， 代表就是只要有可能做某事的时候。
That's right. So they're basically doing their best to use ethical materials, and they're using materials that can be taken apart, because both of those things are important to making less trash. So what are we doing with these mined minerals, and how is it ethical? The article says ethical mines have good safety standards and pay their workers a fair wage. So ethical, this is the adjective form of ethically. So ethical things that are, they're trying to do the right thing. Mines have good safety standards. They pay their workers a fair wage. A wage is an amount of money that you get paid based on the number of hours or days that you work. So your wage is usually, like you can think of if you make minimum wage. Minimum wage is the lowest amount legally allowed to be paid. So what is the minimum wage in Taiwan?
最低薪资台湾好像是 22K or 24K.
Yeah, I think they recently raised it.
Yes, maybe to 24K. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So it's quite low. It's hard to live. It's hard to live on that in Taipei.
Yep.
Maybe in the country it might be a little easier, but in Taipei it's very hard to live on that much because your apartment probably costs around
more than what you earn per month.
Yeah. Or if you're living in a small place, maybe 8,000.
Yeah.
And that's still a lot. Yeah.
Half is gone.
Anyway, so minimum wage, that's, a very, very low amount that you get paid. If you make a decent wage, then maybe you live a little more comfortably. So, for example, you could say Bailey's first job only paid her minimum wage, so she couldn't live well with the money she made.
Wage 讲的就是工资跟薪资，那刚刚提到的 minimum wage 那就是最低薪资。那如果你的薪资是不错的，那你可以用 decent 来形容。
Even though Fairphone doesn't yet market in this continent, you might still be able to choose a fairer phone for your next phone in the future. Yeah, so it doesn't market in this continent yet, but that doesn't mean there aren't other fair phones, or that you can't, order one from Europe maybe. Continent, this can give you a hint. One of the great divisions of land of the earth. So there are 7 of these. You've got North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Antarctica. Those are the 7 continents. And, you could say that there's supercontinents as well. The Americas are a supercontinent. Eurasia is a supercontinent when you put Europe and Asia together. So this continent, we're talking about Asia. Here's an example sentence for continent. The North American continent has many beautiful forests, canyons, and other natural places on it.
Continent 指的就是洲或是大陆，所以我们都知道呢，世界上有7大洲 There are 7 continents in the world. 那在课文最后提到 Fairphone doesn't yet market in this continent. 这个 this continent 指的就是 Asia, 亚洲，
right.
我们还买不到。
So you can't get Fairphones in Asia yet, but maybe you can get them in the future. Maybe they will start expanding outside of Europe. And I know that there are other, like I said, modular phone brands which can let you take your phone apart and replace different parts of it, which helps you to, prevent having to replace the entire thing, which can be expensive and is not good for the environment.
So, would you like to have one of these phones in the future?
Well, maybe we can talk about that in our For You chat.
For You chat.
All right, our For You chat question for today is just what Elsie just asked me. Would you choose something like a Fairphone over a more fashionable brand phone? Explain your answer, would you?
This is a good question. So it's like asking me, would I want to protect the environment or just keep harming it?
I mean, you could think of it that way.
Yeah.
Or you could think of it like this phone is easier to get than the other phone or easier to use.
So does a Fairphone have the same functions like other phones do?
I think it's a smartphone, so pretty sure it does.
Okay, what about the price?
The price, I do not know.
So if it's the same price and same functions, I would like to have one Fairphone in the future.
Yeah, I think if it's the same price, the thing is that you can save money in the future by only replacing certain parts.
True.
So you save money in the long run. It's actually cheaper for you.
Yeah, what about you?
I think I also would like to because I'm always been more concerned about the environment than about fashion. Like fashion, it's nice to look good, but if I have to look good or, have the latest thing at the expense of the world, I don't really want to. Yeah. So definitely, I think a phone like this would be really good. And after this, I think I'm actually going to do research on some modular phones, and there are probably some that are in Asia that you can access here.
Maybe you can write an article about that.
That would be great. So anyway, that's the end of our article about Fairphone. You guys can do your own investigation. Maybe you'll find something you like. So for English for You, I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Replace. Maria replaced her afternoon habit of watching TV with playing sports outside. Function. Change the oil in your car regularly to keep it functioning. Seal. You should seal that bottle properly to stop the water from getting out. Plastic. I dropped the cup, but it didn't break because it's made of plastic. Wage. Bernard found that the wage for teaching English in Taiwan was higher than that of his last job. Continent. I've traveled around the world, but the only continents I haven't been to are Africa and Antarctica.
智慧小补帖
Battery. Recycled. Ethically. Mineral.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net